today I will share with you specifically in the area of Internet of Things and how it impacts us. How do we approach IoT in terms of how do we want to roll out these services to the market? What are the challenges? And maybe lastly, I would like to share with you what we have done, so at least you can see how IoT is being developed, from scratch. Yeah. So I think for some of you, if you have heard about Industrial Revolution 4.0, it is always about Industry 4.0. But here, there is a word called Industrial Revolution. Revolution, it means that it is a very disruptive technology, disruptive era, and also very sudden. So we are not talking about evolution, we are talking about revolution. Evolution is very small and very gradual change and very slow. So in the case like every of this era that's happening, there will be some big structural changes or even a new technology is being introduced, and that's when we will see that a lot of this industry is going to be changed. For example, the days that when we use manual and physical tools, that is the era of 1.0. Yeah, but when electrical is being introduced, it suddenly changed the whole landscape, and we have this assistance of electricity to help us in terms of doing a lot more things, and it can power up and can help the people, the workers, for example. So that is the era where electrical is being introduced. I think you also remember that we are in the era where electronics have been introduced, and it's also the internet access, and the way we do things is no longer attached to physically on a physical approach, but we are now everything is online. And in the era of 4.0, we are seeing that there is this convergence between the cyber world and the physical world. Some people call it the cyber physical, and some people call it the IoT world. But here in this era, we are facing with a lot of other technologies, and this technology brings us more bigger impact, where we are seeing the intelligence come in. When we talk about intelligence, you need a lot of data, because without data you cannot make a proper decision making process. So in fact, it's a tons of data that we need to acquire, and data for us is just purely the bits and the bytes, we call it, the one and zeros. It doesn't mean anything, or even the numbers. But if you can transform these numbers, this purely data, what we call the black oil, into something which is oil, like petrol or kerosene, is something useful for you to use. So that is where we transform the data into what we call information. And from information, you can link up this information and some where you can make this into a knowledge. Yeah, so that's where we always talk about a knowledge society. Last time we always call ourselves information society, but nowadays we want knowledge workers. So that's the bigger aspect of information or intelligence that we talk about. So if we talk about analytics part of the data, you will see that at the initial phase, when we acquire all this raw data, we can only ask the question of what exactly is the problem, how many, how often, what happened. This is what we call descriptive analytics. You have a dashboard, you can see the graph, and that's it. But once you put some statistical model inside there, you can do predictive modeling, predictive analytics. Then the question of, hey, what will happen next? Yeah, what if this trends continues? What's going to happen? And you might ask, why is this happening? So you can also predict what's coming. You can forecast it. But the best part is that you can do prescriptive analytics. This is where the question of, we always ask ourselves, what happens if we try this first? There is some assumptions that we have in mind, some changes of the parameter that we want to try out, and then you want to see whether these changes, these parameters will have a big impact. So this is a prescriptive analytics. What is the best that can happen? And this, that can help us in terms of making a better decision. So then the last one, you will see that the level where the machine learning will tell us what can we learn from the data. So autonomously, the machine will use the data and learn by itself and gather more information for you and becomes autonomous. So rather than every time you need to make an assessment, the machine learning will be able to help us. Yeah. So this is where when we talk about IoT, we always talk about the reason not the reasons. When we talk about intelligence, we talk about IoT because IoT is the means for us to gather the data. Yeah. The most important part is that once we can acquire the data, the final part is the end game where we can make the proper decision. So how do we get the data? So the simplest one is to find the right sensors. Yeah, you put sensors. So in digital era, digital sensors, there's so many sensors nowadays. We have magnetic sensors, we have proximity sensors, accelerometer, gyrometer, GPS sensors. The camera itself is also a sensors. So you see that people try to even emulate the sense of smell, So that's something. What happened I see last time is that there's a hotel in Japan, and they put digital sensors to give you the right smell. What happened is that it's not the sensors that give out the smell. It's the chemical mixture that been combined that it produce a new smell. Yeah. So one of the reasons that they make this is that when you're having a video conference, like for us, Dr. Elise, when you're having a video conference and you want to have that smell of the field or the jungle or at the beach, whatever. So somehow the sensors will actuate certain chemical compounds, and you will feel that you're somewhere in a different place.
Okay.
So, and also I can see that people have this glove where they can touch the animal, and this animal can send the information to the other part of the from remote, and this animal will feel that touch. So that's how they do it. This is something
so, Dr. Mazlan, do you think that in future, like for example, if I'm eating durian from here, you can smell the durian from there as well?
Yes, if you can have the right compounds of durian, how it smells, then you with the press of a button, it can mix around that kind of smell, and over the side it will produce
the phone itself can generate that compound of smell.
Yes. It's not impossible, but research have been doing that. The only thing they need to put into real applications, okay.
So I think whoever is sharing that, make sure it's not from the washroom or the toilet.
So you mix a wrong compound of chemical.
We do not want that. Definitely no.
And then the moment you have the sensors, it's always about connectivity, sending out the data. So normally people can send through a normal fixed line, but a lot of devices nowadays, IoT devices, are small and battery powered. It needs to be sent through wireless. So wireless technology is being used. And then there is a middleware, the third component, where it will collect all the data from all the sensors, and then it will store it, and then it will open up a certain what we call API to allow other people to use the data and extract it out and do some analytics and create an application that you want. So these are the four main components of IoT. So IoT have been talking. We have talked about IoT for many years. For some people, they might only realize today, or some people 1 year ago, 3 years ago. But IoT have been coined by Kevin Ashton since 1999. So that was 22 years ago. So very long time. Maybe at that time the technology was not in place because of certain things are not there yet. It's there, but it's not cost effective. For example, hardware now is so becoming very cheap, 10 times cheaper than before. And then if you take a look at the power of the power of the electronics becoming more powerful, because Dr. Lish, do you know that the power of our smartphone is the same computing power that send the people to the moon at one time?
Oh,
Yeah.
I just knew about this.
Yeah.
Okay. I just knew about this.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the computing power now inside our phone. But now, since thousands and billions of people have been using a mobile phone, how many people that we can send to the moon? Not yet, kan? So we have that powerful computer, but we have yet to send people to the moon, lah, kan?
Yeah.
And then connectivity is pervasive. Everywhere we go, you can have access to the internet or any wireless connectivity. Yeah, since from Bluetooth.
So having connectivity and or wireless is crucial in
it's
having
crucial.
system.
Yeah, something that you want to make it mobile is very crucial for us to become wireless. Yeah, something which you don't want the wires to be hanging around, it's better to be on wireless. The difficult part, for example, when we install sensors in areas where it is like tourism, historical buildings and all that. So they want to maintain the facade, the building. So we need to make sure that it can be, embedded and cannot be seen. So this wireless needs to be there. But of course, when we design wireless, whenever it is in building, there is a difficulty to penetrate the building walls and all that. So that's why technologies like a lower frequency band is required to, for example, like LoRa and IoT Sigfox are a best technology that can penetrate walls and can send data further away. Yeah. And development-wise, I think because of whoever made I still remember the days when I made a single line of in the computer. It takes lines of code. But nowadays, people are dragging and drag and drop. So can simplify all these programming languages. And then this Moore's law. Moore's law is the way that we talk about every 18 months to 2 years, 24 months, the number of transistors inside the chipset doubles. So that's why you see Apple launches every year.
Yeah, almost every year now. Yes.
Then they have a new phone with a new CPU because that's when the time that they have breakthrough of technology. And then there is what we call Metcalfe's law of network effects. You take a look at sensors. For example, two sensors, two nodes are connected. They're only connected with one connection. But if you have four users, there are 6 ways for you to connect. And if you have 8 users, everyone wants to connect. You have 28 ways to connect. So the value that it brings out, this is where the data is being generated. A lot of data can be exchanged among the nodes. And this is where IoT is all about. So why IoT now is because there's a lot of what we call the paybacks, the benefits of IoT. People will say that I want to reduce my costs. This is where the technology can play a role. I want to create a new revenue stream, a new product that can enhance my current life now. I want to ensure that my old process can be replaced with new technology like this. So you bypass, so you don't have analog, you have all digital. Yeah, but somehow I have this new latest experience, Dr. Ilis, that one organization, they have change the way that they do things. Instead of physical, you meet and do the transaction, they say everything online. Previously, manually, you can do that in 1 day. You can complete the job. Now, it took us 1 week to complete because they turned back into digital and so many processes in between. This is something which is wrong. Digital means it should be very fast and efficient.
Quicker, it should be.
Yeah, rather than you go digital and halfway you have to print out the PDF file, you have to scan it, you have to upload it. So this sort of thing.
It's like half manual, half analog, half digital, and it still needs some human touches to do that process.
Yes,
so
and then
that's why it prolongs.
You have to wait for permission and approval and all that. If you go to the counter, you can do that instantly. So somehow that's something is gone wrong. And then if you have machines, you want to know the uptime of the machines. Because the machines is not to be properly monitored. So with sensors there, you will know the uptime. You can also design new business model because it disrupts a lot of things. Last time I mentioned that new services from monitoring to control. You can have like vehicle monitoring. and then you have vehicle safety monitoring, control for security. So that is a new business model that can be created. And then implementation, go-to-market strategies. So this is where you will see that because IoT comprises of 4 main components, the strategy to go to market, not only for us alone, you can have your own partner in different segment of the market or different component of IoT can help us going to the market. You will see that the way that we look at our equipment in terms of maintenance, for example. Now, instead of the customer complain to you immediately, you can even monitor from remote before it breaks down. So you will see the insights of the if it's embedded in the product, you will know exactly how the product is being used. So then for the next roadmap, in your product roadmap, you can either eliminate certain features or you can include new features. Yeah. For example, in the areas of transportation and logistics, from the days that from one warehouse to using transportation on air or on water. So then from there, from the port, you want to send back to the warehouse. You have to keep track of all these logistics, where they are. So in this case, a lot can be done. All the things that I mentioned to you earlier in terms of the process flow, the logistics systems can be optimized.
Yep.
The delivery of the products can be more transparent. You can see where they are, and you can always track not only for us but also for our stakeholder, which is the customer themselves. Any disruptions happen, you will know where they are. Yeah. So this is important in the transportation industry. So especially oil and gas. If you look at oil and gas, this is the area where people spend billions of ringgit just to find the oil and to ensure the safety of the oil platform. So safety is one of the main things that they put in place. Anything that pose any dangers, so gases being dissipated and all that, it will send an alert to the people over there, the workers. So in terms of data, also can be collected, and you can make some detection earlier about the area whether they have oil or not lah. Yeah. So this is area where people spend a lot, but also the challenge in putting IoT in this kind of sensitive area. Our experience is that they are very sensitive in terms of electronics part. No. Because it needs to be properly covered, ensuring that I think in the chemical portion where
there are components, unseen components that can affect.
Yeah, so electronic is something which is also very difficult for us to implement unless it doesn't pose any danger lah, spark and so on and so forth. Yeah. In smart cities, a lot of things can be done in smart cities. One of the things, there are 3 different ways of doing smart cities. One, it is what we call operation driven, meaning to say you want to make your city more efficient. This is the way that you will take a look at your operation punya local councils and all that to manage the city. And then there will be a city that is carbon driven sort of city. Carbon driven means that they want to ensure less pollution and so on and so forth. So one of the things that they build is normally a smart city where they build smart parking solution. The parking solution is the reason why smart parking is because the congestion that happens in a lot of cities, 30% of them is the cause is because people are trying to find a car park. People go around and around. How many times you go around? Just to find a car park. And that poses a lot of pollution from our car and all that. And if they put a smart parking, you will know exactly where the parking is. You can be notified, and you can park easily, and then there will be no congestion. So that's one of the areas. And the third theme or the area that people use smart cities because it is like fashionable, trendy, a vanity kind of smart city. So this vanity ni lebih kepada if you have a bus stop that can talk to you or a traffic light can talk to you, So do you think this smart city will cost more
I mean, only people that can afford, only certain community that can afford to live in smart city. Do you agree to that?
Yeah, if you take a look, like for example, brownfield and the greenfield. The brownfield city means that it is a city which is already existent for hundreds of years, maybe. Yeah. So their problem might be slightly different. So they have to embed and put in more infrastructure. So they put the smartness just to help them to solve the current problem. But if the city is already rich or the city is in the greenfield area, start off from new, and then they can embed this with new technologies. So that's why you have this being properly being planned, and they have already put in that cost into the city. The one that is not being put in that cost is because the existing city. That's why it can incur a lot of cost lah, because human is already there, people is already there, they're already in operations. So I think the challenge is now for us is whether, because every city in the world have different problems. Yeah. In Malaysia, for example, in Malaysia itself, even Ipoh, Penang, Kuala Lumpur, Johor might have their own different problems. Yeah. So people try to define smart city. What exactly smart city? No, smart city depends on the problem statement of that particular city.
Okay.
So for example, in India, they have 100 smart cities, different themes they call it, because the city have different issues. Yeah. And then in smart vehicle tracking, particularly if you want to track your fleet management, that's the best. I mean, you have a bus, you have a fleet, your car, you have a driver. You have to ensure that you can manage your driver well. They are not going anywhere.
So using the car. Yeah.
So there are cases, for example, a truck, that carry kelapa sawit kan. So the pump, and they come into the field and they go up, with different kind of loads. So gone missing. So they need to track where the truck is and where they stop. So it's important for them to understand whether there is any leakage in between or indiscipline among the truck drivers. So, and also the usage of the fuel. So some people just they put in the fuel, but then you don't know where the fuel is. Somehow now this is what happened in some places where they have been subsidized in the petrol.
Yes.
And they abuse that portion, and they sell the fuel to other people.
Yeah, they sell it to neighboring countries.
Neighboring countries, or your friends, wherever.
Yes,
This is the issue. So this can help us in terms of reducing any leakages. Construction-wise, we have seen how many times that construction being, we didn't realize, and suddenly there is a, accident happen, collapse of the building, or the structure is not being collapsed, and people die, the workers die. Maybe because we didn't realize there is a signs already of certain vibration because of the environmental. We didn't take note of the weather condition, and no one is giving alerts to the end users. And we also don't know where the location of the workers and all that. So if you put sensors on the helmet, you put sensors on the infrastructure, so it will help you in terms of the safety, ensuring the safety of the construction workers. Smart factory, this is the area where the industry forward is in. So the data that you have collected from the floor and all that can make you a better decision making in terms of optimizing the area, optimizing the equipments, usage of the equipments, downtime and uptime of the equipments. So this is one area that a lot being used in the IoT, because IoT can be used under for consumer or for enterprise or industrial base. So a lot of application nowadays is the industrial side, IoT. Consumer, we have been using this for our wearable, sort of thing. So that is a consumer type, or your smart house, that is consumer type. So consumer type of applications of IoT is very trendy. The more you buy a watch now, it can be obsolete in 1 or 2 years later. So unlike in industrial based IoT, sensors that have been placed there can be as long as even 5 years, even 10 years, without breaking down. So warehouse, I did mention earlier last 2 days, is about maintaining the if you have perishable goods, you have to ensure that it's maintained in a good quality, the temperature and humidity. Yeah, so it's really important, because what you can spend about 1,000 ringgit just installing this IoT device, but it can save you hundreds of thousands of ringgit just if you use human to do that detection. So this is a lot of our customers are using this for warehousing. Agriculture, this is the things that is like a very trendy and very sexy area. We have recently like chili mitigation. Ella, our singer, they have a chili area where they manage a chili. So they have IoT sensors that can collect data from the soil and all that, and even can control the water. So this is something that you can. This is the area where we can increase the yield. But unfortunately, in areas with agriculture, the challenge is if you're too remote, the connectivity is not there, and maybe it can be so expensive and difficult. Especially when we have sensors that we want to do in palm oil area, for example. The challenge is the palm oil area, the foliage is very big, and the sensors when they want to send the data out, it cannot penetrate the foliage, the leaves. That's the challenge that we have. So, and also the challenge in agriculture, most likely the internet access is lacking, and digitalization
because of the rural area.
So the problem is their back end needs to be upgraded into digital first before all the farmers and all that, because we realize that the current generation of agriculture, the people is the older ones who stay at the farms. The younger generations already left the area and work in the urban area.
Because they're not interested of getting their hand and feet dirty.
But the thing is, do you know that the current technology will excite them again? They like to play drones. That's why we have people teaching them drones.
We can see more young generation joining back the agriculture. One is because of the high income, more promising compared to a few years back, and also because of drone, like what Dr. Mazlan said, because especially the guys, they love playing around with the drones and capture all these beautiful pictures, of the agriculture land. Some of them make money, through that as well. So so they can do this pesticide spraying using the drones and all that. So for paddy field in certain areas, they've been using this, and this is a good thing. We are seeing the new generation coming back to the agriculture in the sector. And now robots too. We are seeing robots can do a lot of things. So, but IoT also, to some people, it's quite complex, but it's also give a lot of opportunities for people to venture. I mean, the universities to create new syllabus to help creating this new talent. Is there already started in certain university on IoT?
Oh yes. When we started off, a lot of universities don't have that structured IoT courses. Now we have helped them in terms like even the college have what we call certificate in IoT, and then we have diploma in IoT. Now we have degree in IoT. Now we have masters in IoT. So previously you don't have that kind of specific courses. So Alhamdulillah, we are seeing that in some of the universities that we see now in the local universities. So we hope that with that kind of skills, understanding of from the sensors itself, from the programming part, understanding how you can put into a real IoT, ICT infrastructure, and then the area where security also play a very big role. So people are scared to join or to even deploy IoT because they're scared the hardware is being hacked by from remote, And then people need to know how they put the data into the cloud, the middleware, creating applications, big, fancy, beautiful dashboards, And then if you are in the business, you can become a service providers for this, or you in the product house, you can create new products. So with this, all this area of the IoT ecosystem, it creates more jobs for people. That's the most important why I personally myself been talking many times about becoming a producer nation. If we are the producer nation, most likely we need all these skills. Yeah.
Right.
But if we are consumer nation, why do we need all of these skills?
Yeah, so we have to move towards to more innovative and more in a kind of produce more products to move forward, right?
Yeah. By creating products, then the skills that we require, all of this, is, that's where the value is. The moment we have that value and the skills, then our salary become higher. We pay more because of that. So otherwise, whatever salary that we have today is the same salary that we had 20 years ago.
Yeah, we're not moving then.
Okay, and then if you want to deploy IoT, it's a simple thing. The first thing you need to do is either collect your data, connect it to the internet, aggregate into a platform, and create the insights. These are the simple steps of deploying IoT. If you want to start off also, don't spend millions of ringgit. You can, what we say, crawl it. The crawl means that you have to plan it out. So plan it together so it doesn't cost you anything. That's free, zero cost, together among yourself. And then you start to do what you call a monitor, put certain sensors to monitor them, then put actuators to control them. And then once we have more, you scale up, you have more data, you can do optimization. That's where you run. And then when you become autonomous, you fly, just like Superman. So dream big, okay, but you can start small. That's the idea. Because then it will take that risk off from you. People are scared because they want to spend investment thousands and millions of ringgit.
Yes, true. I think that what makes some of the small business a bit drawback when it comes to the cost of itself. So I think like what you say, you start small by planning first, and then when you have extra, income to spend on the IoT, then only you go for it.
You
right?
go for it.
Yeah.
And scale it up.
Yes.
So the main idea is that if you know your business problems, you identify that, then later we can find the right technology solutions provider. Yeah, you can deploy it. If you fail, then you can iterate, because it's not like it's a magic wand. You come in and suddenly it works. That's fine. Sometimes it doesn't fit into your business process, so you need to adapt it. Sometimes you need to change your business process at all. So you need to do some cultural transformation in the organization. Some people need to be reskilled. Some people need to redeploy to somewhere else because they are not required. So these are some of the things that journey needs to it does impact not only the business but the whole organization.
Yes, correct.
And then people are talking about, hey, okay, now I have a product, I have a solution, how I can make money out of this. The simplest one is to do subscription based lah. So if the IoT can monitor you 24/7, ask them to subscribe for weekly, monthly, yearly. That's simple. And then it's outcome based. Outcome based business model is slightly different. Like what we are saying is that if you want to transfer water from A to B, you need to buy a pump. Yeah. But why do you need to buy a pump? It's because you want to transfer the water, the volume. But what if you have a solution, a sensor that knows that how much volume of water that you require, and you pay by just outcome based. So if you want to travel to one place to another place in a certain time, then you take that kind of logistics. You need to find a flying taxi and all that. But otherwise you can take the long way, the bicycle or whatever they want to.
Yes.
And then asset sharing business model. Asset sharing business model is when you were thinking of, I have an asset, a machine. You don't know the machine is being used for, is it 100% utilization, or maybe it's not. If it's not, then you can do asset sharing. So by the time it's idle, you can trigger another people, your customer, to use that machine. So the idle time can be used for other purpose. So with IoT, you can do that. And then razor blade kind of business model. Razor blade ni, we remember the days when we buy printers. The most important, the most expensive one is not the printer, it's the ink.
And the toner.
The toner, you have to buy again and again.
Yes,
and
yes.
cost a lot more than just the normal printer.
Yeah.
So the same thing like this razor blade is that that is like Amazon. They have this what we call the dash. It's a button. If you want anything, you press that button. It will know that this button is this button meant for to order certain things. To order your ice cream, to order your ni. So this Amazon, they press a button, it send directly to Amazon. So Amazon will automatically send it. So you don't have to go and check in to register whatever. So press a button, you can. So the machine might be free, they give it out, but you have to pay for the services or the transaction.
Yeah.
And then the IoT data, a lot of data that you have collected, or you can sell it if you want to. There's the IoT data. And then pay per usage. This one macam insurance lah.
Okay.
Insurance based usage based insurance they call it. So usage based insurance is the one that I did mention last time, is that we pay based on the driver's pattern. So if we are not risky kind of driver, we pay the insurance low. So if we are high risk, then we have to pay very high lah. So if you put sensors in the car, it will tell us the way that you accelerate, braking, you cornering. So that tells you how you behave. But it also help us in terms of discipline ourselves in terms of driving lah. So first. Then offer as a service. This is one area where if you want to deploy, instead of charging them the hardware, you put sensors that can tell you when to do maintenance. So you charge them based on maintenance service. Or for example, if a shopping lot, they want to know the optimization or the pattern of the people moving around inside the shopping supermarket and all that, you put sensors that can detect the pattern, but then you charge them based on your consultancy. So you can tell them what you need to do. So this is what we call offer as a service. Yeah. So these are the IoT business model that people have created, which people have not thought of. Because you have a tool for you to measure things much earlier, it will help you to do that. So, and of course, we feel that so many challenges and all that. What are the success factors? So the solutions is start off with a strategy, do a proper planning, make proper preparation with your initial team. You secure your C-suite sponsorship, your CFO, your CEO, your CMO, CIO dan sebagainya. Build a good team which have a very diverse, who not only your IT team, one division, it can comprise of many teams. And then you see how you can drive this convergence between what we call the IT and the OT. The IT is the IT infrastructure, the OT is where the process flow lah, the processor and all that. You have to rethink your operations from ground up. Sometimes you need to change all the processes again. You cannot maintain with what you have now, because technology like this will disrupt your work process. And so that's why we say design for flexibility, change if you want to transform, and also do cultural transformation. Train, educate them, and reskill the internal people. And finally, you revisit them repeatedly. But a lot of times when we see projects like this, they stop at, they didn't even pass through the C-suite sponsorship. They couldn't convince back their CEO or CFO, whatever. Then what happened? It stops there. So there's a lot other things that needs to be done. Yeah. So if you have passed that, most likely you will see there's a lot of the things that you can.
So they need another skill, which is the skill to get the CEO being convinced to adopt this.
That's one area where we do suggest one new chief Chief IoT Officer, CIO.
Oh, okay, CIO.
So
what a cute terms for that.
Yeah, the Chief IoT Officer means that these are the one that breaks down all the barriers. So they are like Chief Digital Officer lah. They report directly. He report directly to the CEO. So he didn't report to CIO ke CMO ke CSO, directly to the CEO. He can help to break down the barriers. Okay, let me share with you one product. This is what IoT product. This is purely IoT. If you want to, the idea is for us to say that, hey, you can live alone. Let your parents live alone, but not left alone. So you are so busy running away with your office, working and all that. But the elderly people are staying at home. So with that, we feel that this upcoming new generation where the aging in place is taking, we are seeing people in Japan are now staying at home. And a lot of people, the younger ones are so busy working. So they use technologies to help them. In case like loneliness, they normally have these robots, these robots that only the head that can talk to the elderly parents. So because they don't want to be left alone, so they need to talk to someone. So the Japanese build the robots. So we are seeing the people are also living longer, but yet they are very fragile. They will fall down. So when that happens, how do you get help? So we want, and a lot of people also, the people they have this Alzheimer, dementia. So
yes.
They tend to forget. A lot of times when they go out, then suddenly they get lost. They don't come back. So this gives a very anxiety to the children. So how do we, So how do we manage this? So one way is that we have a solution where we have a wearable device. This wearable device help to do two things. One is to monitor their health because it has blood pressure, ECG. They know the activity when he walks around. So you can always monitor them, their health. And they also have a GPS. So when they are in the home, you know that they're there. When they go out, you get notified. You put a geofencing at the surround the area. So sensors like this can help us in terms of sending alerts whenever there is also emergency. So there's also a button or there's a watch that can, when you fall down, it automatically send
signal.
Alert.
Alert too.
Last time we did that, but we found out there's a lot false alert.
There's too much alert.
Too much alert. Then
the kid will ignore.
Children get so worried. But finally, we say that okay lah, we use a button for them to press.
Okay.
So other than the elderly market, then we say that hey, can we monitor people that goes for Hajj? So we have a lot of users that go and use this wearable device. Because in Hajj, a lot of people, they also get lost there.
Yes.
So once you go into one dekat Masjidil Haram, one door you go out to another door, you don't know where they are. You always get lost. I mean, during the Hajj lagi lah, it's a very huge number of people. And then we realized that, hey, instead of using a wearable device, can we also build another solution which is slightly different? So we use a mobile app. A phone itself is an IoT device.
Okay.
So an IoT device that can monitor your location. But is it location is sufficient? So we're thinking, okay, scenario that we want to talk about, you travel and tourism market. So what if you, because there is these cases that happened to me when I was taking my Umrah. So we have two buses. I'm in the first bus and one of the second bus. And then we left. And then suddenly we found out there's one person missing inside the bus. We thought that's already there. So he's still there, at the somewhere else lah. So they've been left behind, and we quickly have to return back. So, but if they use Discover app, we know the location of this person. And what if you want to enjoy yourself in a very big like Disneyland and all with your family, but you have to always to tag along with your children to make sure where they're safe, or the children have to tag along with their parents and all that. But if everyone can do their own entertainment, whatever that they want, they can have dinner, lunch, or take the rides, you can still know the location of these people. So this is within the group members lah. So we always say that okay, you can now be in a very private group, So in a private group, you'll be invited, either a family or your friends. You want to take your own journey together. You can you know exactly where they are. So when you're traveling to one place, you say, hey, where are you? I'm somewhere. Hey, tak boleh tipu. I know that where you are. So we can see you in the location. So and also there's a list for you to do before you travel. The to-do list. So things that you want to check out. for our family members, they will say that this to-do list you want to buy grocery and all that. So these are the new enhanced features that I put in. So you can plan it out for that particular journey. What are the things they want to do together in a group? So it's very well secured. So this is the idea that we have, but not purely on a wearable device, but only on a mobile phone. And then we say that can we extend the services into something else? So we always thought that our delivery guy, the runner who brings the food, sometimes this one is freelance lah, yang not the Grab. The Grab maybe they have the app. This one yang freelance. So we don't know where they are. But if you are within the group, you will know exactly when they pick up the things and when they arrive at the house. So we can track the runner and the delivery service. So there's a lot of potential cases. So imagine one particular application service that you thought that can cater for one market segment, can now IoT can deploy to other market segments.
Yeah.
So you can do for employees. Some people don't like to track their employees.
Yeah, how much time they spend having lunch, how many times they go to the washroom, come back, So probably they have to put sensor under the chair. The sensor of weighing the employee.
So this is quite sensitive, but of course in our office we do that. We know our whereabouts, our team members.
Okay. And in Favoriot.
Yes.
Okay.
But we also have a timer. We can have this ability to disable the location during after office hours if want to.
Okay.
So it's good also because it detects when is your location. Once you enter the place, we count the numbers. So we know that 10 people already in the office. I don't have to count. They don't have to check. We don't have to check in the.
This is more like safety during fire alarm, something like that.
So when the fire happen, you can quickly count the numbers, right? So emergency and all that. So the idea is if you can develop something once like this, you can deploy to many places. That's the idea that we have. Our journey is a long journey in IoT. We have experienced a lot, and we feel that the market is still small yet in Malaysia because we have yet to pick that exponential thing lah. Yeah. So with that, I would like to end. Let's open up for question and answers. Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much, Dr. Majlan, for the very informative presentation and all the sharing about how can a business adopt this IoT and for them to expand more, in terms of in the world of digitalization. So to the audience, if you have any questions that you would like to ask Dr. Majlan, you can leave in the Q&A box or even the chat box. Or if you even have comments or opinions that you want to share with us, you can leave in the chat box as well. So if, I think I have mentioned to the secretariat, they will give you the link. They have already sent out the link. The slide.
Yeah, the slides. Yeah.
And then there are also questions about, a lot of questions about e-certificate. So just to let you know, there won't be any e-certificate provided by the organizer because this is a very general topic. So we're sorry about that. But we really appreciate your time and your attention during this webinar. So Dr. Majlan, since we don't have any questions yet coming from the audience, but I would like to ask you a question about our education. How your opinion on how should our education in Malaysia be in the era of this IoT? Just now you have mentioned it has been started at the university level where students having first degree, the master. So I'm seeing that even PhD is coming soon. But what about at schools, like primary school, high schools? How do you see that?
So we are seeing technologies have been introduced to excite the student to, like you have seen robots, contests, the students are using drones. This is good. I think this is one area that we have to get them excited with science and technology. Before the autonomous car happened in the world, we have seen this similar thing have been introduced in the colleges in the overseas, and they not only use like us. We only have our contest for robots, fighting each other at robot contest, but they have made a contest for autonomous car in the desert. So they have built these cars that they have funding and all that, but they are contest in actual deserts. And from that kind of technology, that's how they build. They come up with new algorithm for them to create autonomous car. Then we see that this autonomous car we can see robots being sent to Mars and all that, rover and all that. So that's why I think in certain countries, very advanced countries, they already started early to introduce the science and technology to the school children. Yeah, and I've seen some companies in Malaysia have already some certain kits, to introduce IoT. You press a button, it lights up, switch off. So and then you play with certain commands and all that. That have been introduced. This is good. It's just that you need to make it wider.
Even to introduce programming, because in the future, I think a lot of jobs will involve programming as well. So
yes.
Yeah. So I think this is a good encouragement to the young students for them to venture more in IoT in the future. Dr. Mazan, there is a question from Anonymous. It says here, is chemical engineering is in demand in IoT?
Okay, I'm not really in the chemical engineering punya area. I'm more electrical, but I do believe that in whichever area that you are, IoT can play a role. So if you feel that in the chemical engineering, something which is for safety purpose, right? So you're required to ensure that compounds, the gases are very dangerous to make it secure. You need some sensors to alert you. And if there is areas that you need to have higher insurance, because you don't have any means to monitor them, so the risk is high. But if you have IoT in that place, they can reduce that kind of risk factor there.
Okay, and then second question is coming from Mr. Muhammad Isham Abdul Razak. How are we going to implement IoT practically in layman life, or we will fall behind? What are your suggestions?
No, I mean, for everyone, I think they have been using IoT. It's just that they didn't realize it. I have been using IoT to quantify myself, what they call quantified self. Quantified self, that I want to know my activity along the way, and my life, my health, for example. So I have a phone that tells me, how many times that, how many steps I walk, and I have also a watch that can monitor my breathing pattern, my sleeping time. So people have been using that. That is actually IoT. Yeah? We have been traveling around using Waze, Google, that have applications to track you where you are. They have been using IoT. It's just that they realize where you are. Except what he mentioned is that how far are we behind? We are behind in terms of our own development. As a consumer, we have been using this. But as a producer, we are a little bit left behind because we need to create more product houses, support them to develop new innovative services.
Yeah, I agree about, we as a user, we've been using IoT for quite some time. It's just that most of us, we don't realize that the existence of IoT because of lack of exposure, especially on the television. You don't see the word IoT on the television promoting, that's the thing. But we don't realize that, it's true. I think having exposure at the early age, especially at the primary and secondary school, will be as a startup, even if we as a parent, we don't know about the existence of IoT, but at least our kids, when they come back, do you know what IoT? I would like to have that. So I think, by even for me, by following your webinar, for 3 sessions, so I'm kind of like more aware about what is IoT in terms of the use in our life, and in terms of the application in the small SMEs, those kind of things. So exposure is very important, and promoting.
I ask you one thing. Do you like to write into a diary your daily life?
Yeah, I do have my journal. I write sometimes, not like every day, but yeah, sometimes when I have some things, interesting or came across.
So, but what if technology like IoT can help you in terms of creating your digital journal? So I've been doing that, what we call live logging. I have an app that's being built into the phone, that after a while, it will know exactly where I've been traveling, which places, category of places, whether it's the restaurants or the malls or the shops, wherever, how many times, where I travel, frequent places, and the photos and the memories are being attached to that area of the photos. So that is my digital diary. So one day I might just tell, my history for the last 1, 2, 3 years. I can look back my timeline, or you can even share with my children or my grandchildren later. So it's automatically capture all the moments that you have, rather than I have to write everything to that.
Is that an app of a commercial app, or is something that you created yourself?
That one is a commercial app.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can Google after this. That would be interesting. So, here's from Mr. Sri Jaya Chandran. He says here, no question. He already explained very clear presentation. Thanks much to Dr. Mazlan. Okay, and then next question again from Mr. Mohammed Shah. Can you give examples how to use IoT in process improvement?
Maybe I'm not sure whether this is a process or not, but this is one process. This is something which happened to one of our customers. They have multiple network rooms in different buildings, network hubs. Our customer is an IT division. So normally they will get complaint about the network is down. And when they go there, it's not about the network. It's the power is being down. And they don't know, the power is not under their responsibility. The power is under the facilities management of that place. So they keep on trying to, pointing to each other, and sometimes who's actually going to take care of that kind of problem?
Nobody wants to take the blame.
Simple thing. We have a device, a sensor, which can monitor the power. When the power goes down, it will send an alert to both parties saying that the power is down. It's not the network is down. So it was sent to the parties, and if the power is up, automatically, just because of a very short time, it was sent again that the power is being restored. So you don't have to go to that place. So that is a very simple process that we have done to give everyone happy to pointing each other.
Okay, Dr. Mazlan, we have I think this is the final question from Mr. Rizal. Adopting IoT in business requires quite huge investment. Do you come across any financial assistance packages by the government or other institutions?
Yes. In fact, the one under Industry Forward, they have this. At first, if you are the SME, you will have the readiness assessment. They will come in and interview you, see where you are. R 1.0 to 4.0. If you are eligible to have the necessary intervention, they will come in again and make a proposal. So this proposal, you can get the grant, matching grant. I'm not sure how many percent, with meeting. So you can apply for that.
Okay, that's good news for the SMEs. I think that's all. Dr. Mazlan, do you have any final words that you want to say to the audience?
No, I think what we are saying is that this is only the tip of the iceberg. We'll see more applications can be created. We want more people to be more creative, innovative. Let the people generate their own ideas, test it out, because we realize that these ideas can be a multi-million-dollar idea tool in the future. So best of luck. And I'd like to say thank you very much to MPCL for this invitation.